This man is a billionaire, but he likes to disguise himself as a disabled person sitting in a wheelchair. The reason he does this is just to win a bet he made with his friends, but he never imagined that this seemingly ridiculous bet would become a turning point in his life. One day, Johnny suddenly received the heartbreaking news that his mother had passed away. After burying his mother, he entered her room. The familiar scent hit him immediately. He sat in his mother's wheelchair, turned on her CD player, and began singing the song she loved most in her lifetime. At that moment, a girl appeared behind him.
Scusi, ho trovato la porta aperta e sono entrata. La nuova vicina mi sto trasferendo adesso e...
She was the new neighbor, just looking for someone to help her move things. Johnny instinctively tried to stand up to help, but she quickly refused, because she mistook him for a disabled person. Johnny was about to explain, but seeing the pity in her eyes made him rethink. Instead of explaining, he let the misunderstanding continue and knocked over a box.
No, ti prego, faccio io.
Assolutamente.
Faccio io. Non è che mi vedi che è caduta una cosa là in fondo, quando la recuperi. Sì. Grazie, faccio recuperare.
Beth kindly helped Johnny pick up the scattered items. Before leaving, she told him to come find her if he ever needed help. And that kind gesture from this beautiful woman excited Johnny. The next day he arrived at Beth's door in a wheelchair, but to his embarrassment, the doorbell was too high for him to reach. When Beth finally opened the door, he immediately put on a pitiful expression. He told her he was feeling really lonely and wanted to invite her for a cup of coffee.
Ma dice adesso?
Vedi che ti
No,
disturbo.
non mi disturbi. Non mi disturbi.
Io ti sto
Non mi
disturbando.
disturbi e mi fa piacere. Prendo le chiavi. Sì. Prendo le chiavi. Aspetta, aprico.
Beth didn't reject him. Johnny smiled, thinking he'd succeeded in his plan, but he didn't know that this little lie would lead him into a deeper vortex. At dinner, he pretended to be elegant and asked Beth to join him for a meal, but Beth cleverly kept changing the subject. When he saw her getting ready to leave, he told her, "Even though I'm in a wheelchair, I own hundreds of businesses in Europe and Italy." A strange look flashed in Beth's eyes. She even invited him to her countryside home for the weekend. Johnny immediately accepted her invitation. He thought this was his chance to win the heart of the woman he admired.
Gianni! Eccolo! Oh, non ti ho dato l'indirizzo per domenica. Tiberina 1547.
Tiberina 1547. Ciao!
Ciao!
But when his wheelchair rolled through Beth's door, reality delivered a heavy blow. It turned out, Beth's real goal was to introduce Johnny to her sister. At that moment, Johnny completely broke down. His wheelchair plan had landed him in an unexpected situation. But when Chiara appeared, Johnny's heart began to race again. But when he saw Chiara take a wheelchair out of the car, his smile froze instantly. In that moment, Johnny realized that in the game he had so carefully designed, he was the one being hunted. During a casual conversation, Chiara mentioned she was a violinist and loved tennis. Her eyes sparkled with the light of life and passion, but Johnny felt like he was in a different world. What he didn't know was that fate's gears had started turning, and this girl, sitting in a wheelchair, would change his life forever. Back home, Johnny told his friend about the day's events. He said he couldn't develop feelings for the girl in the wheelchair. After hearing this, his friends also started teasing him. "Even then you won't get her." This made Johnny very angry and he bet that he would definitely get her. That night, he started messaging Chiara, hoping to meet her again. To his surprise, the next day, Chiara showed up at his company unannounced. In a panic, Johnny quickly came up with an excuse and sat at his desk. Luckily, Chiara didn't question him. She was there just to invite him to her tennis match. Johnny immediately agreed. When he arrived at the stadium, he found that Chiara on the sports field seemed to have changed. Her eyes were filled with determination, as if she were challenging fate itself. Her strength deeply moved Johnny. He began to admire this strong girl, but the bet still pushed him to speed things up. By coincidence, he found out that Chiara was holding a recital, so he bought tickets to surprise her. When Chiara appeared on stage, the crowd erupted in applause. Lost in the music, she looked like a rose blooming in adversity. Her violin sound was as warm as sunlight. And in that moment, Johnny understood. The true light of life lies not in perfect appearances but in a rich heart. Excited, he stood up from his wheelchair. The woman next to him stared in disbelief. She had just witnessed a miracle. After the recital, they went to a classy music restaurant. Johnny, who usually didn't speak much, was unusually chatty tonight. Before meeting Annie, he had never met such a strong yet graceful girl. But Johnny was worried. He feared that if he confessed everything to Chiara, it would destroy this rare relationship. On their way home, they held hands like lovers, Chiara's every smile tugging at Johnny's heart. As time passed, Johnny had long forgotten about the bet. He would often call Chiara to talk about work troubles, and she would share little moments of her life with him. One night, Johnny invited Chiara to his villa. They sipped fine wine and spoke softly. In the most intimate moment, Johnny pulled a sponge from under the table. He placed it on his chest and invited Chiara for a wonderful adventure. When he pressed the remote, the floor slowly began to sink, and water started filling the room. What was supposed to be a simple candlelight dinner quickly turned into a unique water party. Chiara was deeply moved by this. She didn't expect Johnny to use this way to let her experience what it's like to stand. Their hearts had never been so close. That night, their relationship took a giant leap forward, but the weight on Johnny's heart kept growing. The secret was like a heavy stone pressing on him. Every time he saw Chiara's trusting eyes, the guilt surged like a tidal wave. That day, he finally decided to end the agony.
Senti, ti ho chiamato perché vorrei vederti, c'è una cosa che ti devo dire.
He slowly stood up, ready to confess the truth to Chiara. But when the moment came, he hesitated. Looking down at Chiara in his arms, his emotions were conflicted. He could only comfort himself that perhaps he still needed some time. But what Chiara said next silenced him. She told Johnny that her boyfriend left her after the car accident.
Che stronzo.
E invece no, è normale. Però stava con un'altra e non me l'aveva detto. Quello mi ha ferito, il fatto che mi abbia mentito. Io una cosa non sopporto: le persone che dicono le bugie.
She hated lies, and this became Johnny's greatest mental burden. His lies are like a dangerous building that may collapse at any time. Meanwhile, Beth accidentally ran into Johnny's brother at the apartment. In their conversation, Beth learned that Johnny wasn't really disabled. She was shocked by the news. In anger, she went to Johnny and slapped him hard. When she confronted him, Johnny didn't try to explain. But when Beth said she was going to tell her sister, Johnny panicked. He quickly stood up from his wheelchair and blocked her way. He admitted he had lied to Chiara, but his feelings for her were genuine. He begged Beth for a chance to confess to Chiara himself, but Beth had lost trust in him.
Sai una cosa? Il vero handicappato sei tu.
In desperation, Johnny went to his father to talk about his dilemma. He hoped to find a way to tell the truth without losing Chiara. After thinking for a while, his father suggested they go to Lourdes. It was a place known as a miracle sanctuary. Many hopeless patients had found hope there. Maybe he could miraculously stand up in front of Chiara while praying and save their relationship. At the same time, Beth kept hinting to her sister to watch out for Johnny, but Chiara remained surprisingly calm. Then, Johnny's phone call broke the silence. Johnny enthusiastically invited her to join him on the trip to Lourdes. Chiara seemed to know the real reason for the trip.
Non capisco che cosa pensa di trovare a Lourdes.
Un miracolo.
Un miracolo.
Gianni cammina. Come te, come lei, come tutti voi. Non è mai stato un disabile.
Come lo sai che non è disabile?
Perché io sono disabile.
It turned out that Chiara already knew everything, but she didn't confront Johnny. She longed for the feeling of being loved. Even if it was a fleeting happiness, she still chose to accept and enjoy it. When she told Johnny she hated lies, she was actually building an invisible barrier, because she knew that once the lie was exposed, that fleeting happiness would be gone. A few days later, they arrived at the ancient church in Lourdes, but just as they were about to pray, the priest sharply noticed something was off.
Tu, segui.
He called Johnny into the church alone. Before Johnny could say anything, the priest gave him a stern look.
Se ti alzi adesso da quella sedia, menti 2 volte. Tu non sei paralizzato. Ma credo che la cosa importante per le persone che vengono qui sia che ci vengono con la fede. Non spegnere quella fiammella nei cuori di ognuno di loro. Non fare un gesto che potrebbe deluderli o far loro del male. Come ti ho detto, qui i miracoli accadono raramente.
Then, Johnny slowly drove out of the church in a wheelchair. Outside, Chiara read everything in his eyes. The miracle she had been waiting for had now turned into a bubble. She knew that sooner or later, this fragile barrier between them would break. As she sank into sadness, a truck suddenly came rushing toward her from a distance. She didn't notice, until a pair of arms pulled her away from the edge of death.
Cammini. È un miracolo. È un miracolo, cammina. Dai, fammi vedere come cammini, Gianni.
Johnny remained silent, head lowered, and Chiara seemed to understand from his attitude. Her back is full of helplessness. Looking at her, Johnny still didn't say a word. He had hurt her once with a lie, and he didn't want to deceive her again in the name of miracles. But he would never know that Chiara was willing to believe that beautiful lie. From that day on, their worlds never intersected again. Johnny's life lost its color. In the following time, Johnny fell into a self-destructive cycle. He would run like crazy every day, trying to numb the pain in his heart with the extreme pain of his body. Finally, one day, after excessive training, he collapsed on the ground, exhausted. But when he lifted his head, someone was standing in front of him. Chiara appeared like sunlight in winter.
Niente,
Passavo di qui e ho digitato percorsi runner Roma.
She told Johnny that she couldn't forgive the past built on lies, but she was willing to get to know the real Johnny in front of her, and this was probably the most touching truth of love. Even though the direction of this relationship was far different from what they had imagined, as long as that sincere love still exists, they could find their unique light in the unexpected.